In this video, we're going to talk about the render pipeline for the GPU. This is the process of transforming our vertex data into pixel data that will be rendered to the screen or a texture. The first step is to pass the data to the GPU. The shape and amount of this data is arbitrary, but generally we would expect to pass an array of vertices that describe the vertex positioning, texturing, and normal vectors of a 3D model. All of this data is then passed to the graphics card as a byte array and sent to the first stage. Next is a programmable stage that allows us to do matrix transformations on the vertex data that we've passed to the GPU. Usually this results in model rotations, translations, camera movements, and other similar calculations. The vertex data gets split into individual vertices, and each vertex is simultaneously processed in different threads on the GPU, with each thread running a copy of our Vertex Shader program. The program is only required to return the final transformed position of the vertex, but other data can optionally be passed along as well. After our Vertex Shader program finishes, we are left with the resulting coordinate values of each vertex. The vertices are stitched together into triangles or other primitives like lines or points, but triangles are more broadly and uniformly supported across different types of hardware and software. The construction of the triangle from the vertices depends on both the ordering of the vertices and the selected primitive format, called topologies. The most common is a triangle list, but there are also point lists, line strips, and triangle strips. The order of the vertices also determines the direction the triangle is facing, which is important for lighting and performance optimizations like culling triangles that point away from the camera. The front-facing direction of a triangle is represented by a vector called a normal vector, whose direction depends on whether the vertices of the triangle are listed clockwise or counterclockwise, also called the winding order. The resulting triangles are then passed to the next step. The next step is rasterization, which converts our geometry data into raster image data. This means that instead of being defined by primitives, it is defined by a grid. The geometry data is sampled at various points, and each sample is converted into a collection of information called a fragment. A fragment contains data like its grid position coordinates, depth coordinates, as well as other information like whether it's facing towards the screen. The variables that were passed out of the Vertex Shader are interpolated for each sample using a barycentric coordinate system, which allows us to combine the variable values at a sample's corresponding vertices as a weighted average. The GPU handles all of this math, but knowing how these values are calculated is important for understanding how to write shader programs more effectively. Each fragment created at this stage invokes a call to the next part of the pipeline. This means that a performance trade-off exists for calculating higher resolutions, since more pixels need to be processed. There are also methods like multi-sampling that allows us to have the option of spending further processing resources in order to attempt to create a better image by sampling a pixel multiple times at different points. Each sample creates a new fragment, and the samples for an individual pixel are combined together in order to attempt to smooth out hard edges in the resulting image. Each fragment created by the rasterizer gets passed to the Fragment Shader stage. This is the second programmable stage of the pipeline, and a copy of our Fragment Shader code will run on each fragment in parallel in the same way our Vertex Shader program was run on each vertex in parallel. Our shader program has access to each fragment's grid position and depth, and some other built-in variables, as well as the interpolated values of whatever variables we passed from the Vertex Shader before. Here we can do matrix and vector calculations in order to calculate the color of a pixel and send the color to the next stage. The pixel color is a required output of this part of the pipeline. The last step is the collection of the pixel colors from the Fragment Shader. All of our shader data gets sent to a memory buffer called the frame buffer that contains the red, green, blue, and alpha channels of all the pixels for the targeted drawing surface. Its dimensions match the resolution of the target surface, and each index represents an individual pixel of that surface. Hopefully these first two videos have given you an idea of the general form our data takes and the overall process it goes through. From here on, we'll mostly focus on the specific shape of our data in both the vertex and fragment shaders, but having a picture of the in-between stages gives more clarity on what our data needs to look like and how to better use these tools.